Hey everyone, what you see in front of you now is the grids that we just created in the prior video for Dallas. I also went on their open data portal and grabbed the libraries, where you can see here in the purple, along with the parks. So I'll turn this off and zoom in a little. I did do a sub-selection of only community and neighborhood parks. So there are other ones in Dallas. I just sub-selected some of these out and gave them the red boundary just a bit easier to see that we'll work with today. Now, what I want to bring to your attention is we can do what we're doing today for a number of different types of layers. So I grabbed a polygon being the parks and a point for libraries. Now, this could also be for bus stops, transit stations, liquor stores, bars, restaurants, any type of retail, any type of crime generator, attractor, risky facility. If those are unfamiliar, look at some of X works in the Brantinghams. Truly, we're trying to understand what creates risk for crime in a certain area, and we're going to focus on some of the built infrastructure itself. So that's why I'm using libraries and parks as an example. There's a long literature from many different people across the US, across worldwide, that test these in a number of different fashions. These are two that oftentimes get brought up, and honestly, they're easy to find on online data portals or open data portals itself. So good examples. So what I want to cover today, and there's a number of different ways to do this. This is just one of the first ways I picked this up when I was getting into ArcGIS, is how to take some of these different layers and join them to the grid itself. So you're going to create a composite, almost risk layer itself. This one's just a grid itself. So let's get into that. Again, truly focusing on the built environment. We'll add crime in a future one. And that's where you can start to then look at, is more crime occurring around where some of these facilities are co-located. These are just two. So imagine you had 15, 20, 30 different attributes of the built environment. You can start to look at what matters and what's associated with crime occurrence. You can even bring in some of the conjunctive analysis, but also just general descriptive statistics and some testing of the cells themselves. But enough of that. Let's get into the how-to part. So I'm going to turn on the grid again. We have those cells here. So if I open this layer up and go into the attribute table, you can see we still have the 44,000 cells. Again, 500 foot by 500 foot. But now I want to know what cells are within a close proximity to a park or a library. So I want to add a couple fields to this specific layer. Now I could create a layer for libraries, one for parks. If I had retail, if I had gas stations, if I had all of those, I could create a multitude of layers. But for now, I'm just going to add everything to my original grid to work from. Again, number of different ways, but this is an easy way to track it from the start. So I want to add a few layers to this, or fields, I should say. So let's do parks, and let's do parks at 1,500 feet. So I'm going to leave that there. Change this just to short, because it's going to just be 0 and 1. Let's add another field. Let's do libraries. Let's do 2,500 feet. Keep in mind, the cell size I was using was 500 feet. So oftentimes, if you read literature on the testing of crime generators attractors, they often refer to it in block increments. So if you want to look at 1 block, 2 block, 3 block, 4 block, 5, go up to a half a mile, depending on if you're more rural locations. But really, you're just trying to account for general routine activities, your travel space, your awareness space as a whole when it comes to crime. So where's crime located? You want to see what the influence of some of these facilities are. You can test the influence they have, again, down the line, more advanced modeling. But for our purposes, let's just see what this looks like. Change this one to short as well. I'm going to add a third one that's just going to be combine risk. So that's taking parks plus libraries, seeing where they co-locate in space to create another layer itself. So from here, I'm going to hop up and hit save. Close this part out. You can see here I have 3 new fields, all with null. So out of the start, you can change this, and depending on your level of coding, you can do this to where they all start with zeros. It makes it a bit easier that way. Again, if they have Python embedded, so you could use that if that's of interest. But for now, let's get into just recoding these and giving them all zeros to start out with. So that always brings up the default of the last one. Hit apply, and I'm going to do these for all 3. So all cells have a value of 0 to start. Again, defaults to the last one, so it's still 0. And now for the third one, calculate 0 again, and we're good. So this is going to give us a basis to work from to identify cells within certain distances of some of these features, be it libraries and parks. So let's turn off the parks one and just focus on libraries for right now. So we have libraries in Dallas, and you can scroll around and we see all throughout. But now I'm interested in selecting based on their locations. So you can see here this auto defaulted when I was playing around with this earlier to make sure I get it all work correctly. My input feature is going to be that fishnet one. It's going to default to intersect, but I want to choose within a distance. I already have my selecting feature here being libraries. And in this situation, I want to do 2,500 feet. So I'm going to update that. When I click apply, you're going to see now, if I zoom in, it goes around 2,500 feet and selects those cells that are within that distance. So from here, I just want to identify those within this larger file that I have for all fishnets. So if I right click on the library, I want to come up to calculate field. This time, I'm just going to give it a 1. Truly not going to give it any other value at this point, not testing it. I just want to know about the presence of it. So is that cell within 2,500 feet of the library, or the library in this situation? So again, these are all cells, so you can see that some of these have zeros. If I go on to only the ones that are selected, those all have a 1 here. That's what I want to see. Now I'm going to zoom back out. I'm going to turn off libraries, turn on parks. I'm going to clear this out to where there's nothing selected. Now I'm going to rinse and repeat. So I still have the Dallas fishnet. I still want to do within a distance, but this time I want to change this to parks, and I'll change that distance to 1,500. Click apply. And again, cells within 1,500 feet of a park, even including the ones that are within it, are selected. So from here, I want to right click on parks, calculate field. Still defaults to the 1 since we used that last. And here, just as an example, if you are more Python friendly or you like arcade, you do have the option to code within these. But for now, we just need a simple 1 for this point. It's telling you that only 12,735 of the cells are going to get a 1 value. Click apply and OK. Double check it over here if you want to. You can see that there's all 1s here. Now, since we've done those 2, that's all we really want to do at this point. What I'm interested in now, though, is can I combine those to see where risk is 2? So where parks and library have a co-located space where they overlap. So I'm going to come in to combine risk, open this up, and I just want to add parks plus libraries. And that your max is going to be 2, your minimum is going to be 0. So if we look at this, let that run, click OK, and double click twice, you can see that we do have 2s. We're going to use another select, this case, select by attribute. And I just need to remove that one and start over because again, I was messing with it already. We're going to come in, combine risk is equal to 2. You can see your 3 values there, 2, 1, and 0. So say you did not go in and set everything to 0 out of the gate and you left the null, you're going to get error messages when you're trying to do this addition. So you're only going to see 2s or nulls. So you lose out on the 1s as a whole. That's why I go through that step. But here we have 2. Click apply. We have 1,250. And those are now highlighted here that you can see that there's overlapping space or co-located close to one another where you have parks and libraries. So if you then wanted to test, is there a relationship with crime? Well, choose a crime and do it that way. You can test it a number of different ways. This is just one example of how to start to envision proximity to some of these features and how you can do that within a grid layer itself. If there's any questions, please feel free to reach out. Until next time.